Everybody else is focused on making the project. The AD is focused on everybody making the project. See the difference?
You have a special approach, the way you look at production or screenwriting that we were talking
Well,
about?
part of it is that, and I learned this, and I think I've got to be able to articulate it through working with Jeff Gordon at Writers Boot Camp, is the idea that his tools that he designed were ultimately designed, if you used all of them, to be able to give yourself a full 360 view of a project. So one of the things that I felt, and when I look at especially the production process and prepping for production, is it how many times can I circle a project? How many times can I look at it in a different way? Because if I can look at it in those different ways, then I can be prepared for all of the things we were talking about, these scenarios that can go wrong. I can prepare for those scenarios because I've looked at it in those different ways. So if I fall behind, I know what my plan is. If, if we have to cut some scenes, we've already talked about the scenes that we need to cut, right? So anything that I can do to anticipate the possibility of something going wrong and plan for it, then the likelihood of something that I didn't plan for, the more likely I will be prepared for it because I've eliminated all of those other things, right? And if I think that I've gotten everything figured out, well, that means I probably haven't. But it's just that idea of every time I do a shot list with the director and we do it in a different program and we go through the list and we think of it a different way, and then I go and I sit with the effects guy and I ask him, how's he going to do it? And then I ask the production manager how they're going to do it. And then I take all that information and I bring them all together again and then ask them how they're going to do it. That's how you get cohesion. That's how you get a unit, and that's how you get everybody on the same page. And that's also, as an individual, how I become a master of the material, even if I didn't write the material, right? Because now I may know the material on some level better than the writer does, because I've broken it down in different ways. So yeah, that's the 360 theory of production in writing.
Sure. And how many times are you usually circling the screenplay in terms of before you even get it to some of the production?
Well, like as a writer, for me, it depends. Like I've written, half-hour pilot things where I've only had a week to write it. So I've circled it once because I got it written, right? Or something like Zebra, where I've been working on for years and years and years. I've probably circled it, 6 or 7, maybe 10 times, where I've written, broken it down, tried to do something new, and then gone back all the way through the process again, even slashed my favorite things, and now I'm doing it again. Just having new ideas, because that's the key. Is if you're willing to eliminate things, it was the worst thing in the world if you cut something out of your script and then you have no idea what to put in it, right? Because you don't have any new ideas to entertain that part of it, or to fix that, to have a solution, or to come around to it. That's part of what screenwriting and production are. Ultimately, it's problem solving, right? It's solutions, and it's also creating problems for characters and solving problems for you.
And why work 10 years on something?
To become the good enough writer to be able to handle the material and know that I wasn't willing to let it go to somebody else. But also, it's also because it's historical, some of the material wasn't available either, like documentation, what I had to actually research and learn about it. So as that grew, I've been able to get further along on it. That's why I'm in the next, it has to be done in the next 6 months. Knowing Sean, we'll see if I don't get distracted. I get distracted. I get distracted with other people's things, and I'm a 110% type of person. So it'll be hard for me to write something for you if I've got to, do a call sheet tomorrow. So it's kind of those types of things too.
What do most people think is a producer's job? And in fact, it really entails something very different.
It's an interesting, very, very, very interesting question. I've had a lot of thoughts about it. And my view of what a producer is someone who actually is as the director is the head of the artistic side of the production, the producer is the head of everything else. And how that comes together, how that can come together, depends on the scope of the producer. A producer like myself, I think, can influence the mood and feeling and tone of the entire production by just simple selection of what the call sheet is, or simple selection of what the food is, or simple how they choose to communicate with their staff, or how they handle problems, right? So if you're someone that is there to communicate and is there to actually be an agent to I don't know, amplify what's already being done, that you know that the really no one's really going to care about how hard it was to make it. All they're going to care about is how good it is. But all of those things, to get it to that point, people need to feel good to do good things. So if you don't put them in a position to do their best, their absolute best, at all moments and all times, you're failing as a producer. If they don't have the time, if they don't have, without a conversation, if I tell you that you're not going to have the time and you still decide that you want to do it that way and you make the decision as a director to do it that way, then we've had a conversation. But you got to have that conversation, and you got to be able to have the difficult conversations, and you've got to be able to make decisions like firing people and not be worried about it. You know, the movie is the most important thing. And if the movie is the most important thing, you're doing that genuinely from your heart, then you will do it with the best intentions, and you will do it with the best for the people who are on that set and for the people who are actually going to see that movie.
So being a producer in a lot of ways is communication.
I think it's all communication.
All communication. Okay.
I think it really is. It's all communication, essentially. I think it's being the communicator. I think on some level it's being the communicator, not the the director is a communicator for the artists. The producer is a communicator for everybody. You know, the director can say the production designer, blah, 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 blah. But the caterer doesn't care about that. The caterer just needs to know where they want to put it and whatever, and if people seem happy around them. You know, so not everybody on the set's following the director, but everybody on the set is following the producer.
What do you see a lot of first-time producers get wrong?
It's much more important to be doing the things that need to be done to help your production than looking like you're doing the things that make your production be done. In other words, you know, if I really need, you know, an extra person to run back and forth between here and the dressing room, that's what I really need. I don't need, you know, a BTS crew. You know, if we need B, you know, or understanding what the priority is at the moment. You know, a lot about a set is, and this is something we didn't get to talk about, but I think that one of the reasons I'm very passionate about production in so many different ways is also because of having been a first AD. Because a first AD gets to, everybody else is focused on making the project. The AD is focused on everybody making the project. See the difference? That all those people and what they're doing, like being in the eye of the storm on the set, when you're just literally in that position where you're watching everybody else do what they're doing and making sure they're not tripping over things and no one's yelling over somebody and everybody's going over, and the DP can talk to the, you know, AD, everybody just can hear each other and it's not too noisy, and are we getting things done, and then getting to that point, are we ready to take that shot, and listening to everybody, making sure that they're in creating that rhythm. That rhythm is a heartbeat. And the faster and the better you get that, then everybody just listens to that heartbeat. They don't listen to what's going on in their heads. They don't care about what's going on. They just focus on what they're doing. And when they can walk out and they can have a good meal and they can whatever, and they can joke and laugh and they go back in and they're not distracted again, you're going to get the best work. And if you don't keep them there for 13, 14, 16 crazy hours, I also usually don't shoot more than 10 to 11. 12-hour days are unusual for us. We don't like to do that. You know, we want to shoot, I'd like to shoot 10s. You know, you're shooting 10, maybe it's a 12-hour day, but you're really shooting 10 hours. You know, so it's because you're more efficient that way. And it's not necessarily you have to do one take, because I don't necessarily have to do that. But those types of things really make a difference in terms of the subtlety of the psyche of what's going on and how that by osmosis literally can be seen on screen.
And less room for any kind of error, accidents, arguments. Yeah.
All of it, all of it. It's just you get all of these, you know, people who could be going in completely different directions, and you get them all going in the right direction, you know, and keeping them in that direction. And when they're not focused, being able to be the person who's willing to go in and say, focus up, whatever that is, because you're not worried about how they feel. I don't care about how you feel right now. I care about the movie. So it's not about your feelings. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt, but it has nothing to do with that. We're all here for the movie. Are you here for the same thing? It becomes really easy when you got the same thing and we're all thinking about the same thing. It's hard to argue. We're only arguing for it. We're only advocating for the movie. Everything else should become secondary in a good way. Go home, see your family, take care of your loved ones. Don't sacrifice your life.
Right.
Don't be the perpetual bachelor. Anyways.
Cuddle with your cat.
Yeah, cuddle with your cat, whatever. Get a cat. Play tennis. Go for a run. Do something.
Right. What's your favorite film about the film industry?
Ooh,
narrative.
That's a good question.
Not documentary.
Narrative. There are many, and I love things about it. And of course, mine, Redemption, is about the Hollywood industry on some level too. But I would have to say The Bad and the Beautiful, just because I think it speaks so much to me about what it's like to be a good person in Hollywood and what it's like to be a bad person in Hollywood. And that it's always been more important to me to be a good person in terms of my intentions about my art and what I'm doing it for, because what would be the point? So if that meant I was going to have great Hollywood success, as some people thought I would as an early, or if it just means that I'm an independent producer who's still working, which is still the best thing ever, then that's all it is. And I still try to maintain that, because it's like having the humility and love for what I'm doing, I think, is the most important thing. And I think that's what's keeping me young. So I think I'm going to stick with that one. And that movie teaches me a lot about all the kind of negative thing, the trappings of producer life. And at one point, that character, Kirk Douglas's character, is asked, and I'm not exactly quoting it, but to have movies, whatever your name is, you have to have humility. And the character simply asks, do you have humility? And I would ask, do you have humility enough to sacrifice what you think for the best of the project?
And that's the character asks the Kirk Douglas character this?
Yes, do you have humility? You know, do you have enough humility to just be doing it for the project, not for your ego? You know, that's, you know, so as a producer, I think that's like having as little ego as possible is one of the most incredible and most important things a producer can do. The more you can operate that way, I think the better that you'll do.
And what is his response as the character?
He doesn't answer. Because obviously he doesn't have humility. He's not the character that does. He stomped on his best friend. They made a movie together. He can't even get any work anymore. You know, he's one of these people that just really has stepped over body after body. I'm going to have to go back and watch it again now. Make me want to watch that puppy.